Welcome to today's tutorial. We'll be going through Practical 3's memorandum. So let us begin. So let me open Chrome. I'll need Chrome because I'll need to demonstrate what is this? I need to demonstrate regular expressions. So I'm gonna go to the I hate regex website. And I'm sure a lot of you really hate regular expressions, but they're not really that bad, eh? They're not that bad. So let's see. Let's see what regular expressions are all about. So before we begin, let me just sort of like explain a bit of a bit about regular expressions. Let's just do a few examples. Okay, so let's see. So with regular expressions, right? We use regular expressions when we want to find if a specific line of text is written in the format that we want it to be in. So for example, let's say I want my format to be your name. So it has to start with the uppercase letter. And it can be any uppercase letter because people's names are very unique. So it's the whole alphabet, followed by any okay, let me followed by small characters, let's say Jack, and then followed by a hyphen, and then followed by a surname, something like this, right? So let's say I wanted to write a regular expression, right? That checks if the specific line of text matches with what I'm expecting to get. So let's see. So let's do a few examples. So you can use this square brackets, right? You can use the square brackets to state that to state, okay, this is the character that I'm looking for, or I'm stating the characters within that specific range, right? It's fine. You could write a regular expression whereby you say it starts with an uppercase letter C, right? And then followed by, let's say you wanted a set, right? So brackets, these brackets, the square brackets, what they usually refer to, you use it in terms of like when you're looking at a set or a collection. For example, you want to look at all the alphabet, the letters of the alphabet. So from A to Z, something like that. Or you want to see if it matches any of the three characters, for example, A, C, or D, something like that. So let me do this inside regex. So let's say I wanted to check if the line the line of text that I'm gonna receive, it could be from a file or it could be from the user via the terminal. So let's say I want it to begin with the capital letter C, and then I want it to have letters, let's see, cat, cut. So let's just say cat, cut. Yeah, let's just say so it needs to be any of those two words, cat or cat. So they both end in a T, right? So the only difference is the letters in between. So let me see, but you can see my screen. There's no need for me to zoom, but let me see. Let me use the magnifier. Okay, so let's do this. So if you wanted to match, right? You wanted to match you wanted to check if that specific line of text matches with what I'm expecting. So I'm expecting one of these words, either cat or cut. So how would I represent it? I can't write it like this, CAOT. If I write it like this, it means I'm expecting it in that exact format. I'm expecting a capital letter C and a small letter A and a small letter O in that specific order. If I write it like this, that's what it means. But if I want to say it can either be one of them, I would have to use this square brackets. I would say A TAO, which means A or T, A or O, and then it needs to end in the small letter T. So now now I can test it, right? So let's say you see the matches part. You see this part. It's like it's like you can imagine it's like the terminal or a file. So you just write a line of text and see if that regular expression is able to evaluate to whatever. Okay, this is too zoomed in. It's able to evaluate to whatever you expect it to evaluate. So I'm expecting to get, if the user enters a cat, then it should match. You can even see at the bottom here, you see, it says, it even shows you a diagram of how it looks. So it says it needs to start with the letter C and it needs to have one off. It means it can either be A or O, and then it needs to be followed by a T. So that's what this regular expression does, right? So let's check it out. So if the user, let's say the user enters cool, right? There's no match because I'm expecting it does start with the capital letter C, but it needs to match exactly with the regular expression. So I said it should start with the capital letter C. It does start with capital letter C, but does it have one of these? As you can see in our diagram at the bottom, does it have A or O? It doesn't. It does have A or O, but it should only it should have exactly one. Here there's two. So really that's a problem. And then it ends with it's supposed to end with a T. This ends with an L. So let me show you. Let's say it ends in a T. No, I wanted to say U, cut. So it's AU. So let's say you wrote something like this. It's not a word, but let's just pretend it's a word. So you wrote something like this. You see, it's not gonna match because what this means, it means one of the values that are inside the square brackets, which is either A or U. So that means I can either have, remember that it needs to start with the capital letter A. So I can either have A, capital, it needs to start with the capital letter C. Apologies for that. Then it needs to start with the capital letter C and followed by a small letter A. So it could either be a small letter A or a small letter U. So let's say we choose A and it needs to end with a T. So that's one of the possibilities. And then the second possibility is it starts with the capital letter C and followed by a U and followed by a T. So these are the two words that I'm expecting to match. So if you check here, does it match with what I'm expecting from the user? No, it doesn't match. So which is good. So let's put now the exact match. So let me say CUT. There we go. It highlights it. It's like, oh, it does match with the regular expression that you wrote. And then let's say cat. You see, it does match with the regular expression that I wrote. So this is just one of the ways to to do a regular expression. So let's say we want to do another regular expression, right? So let's say we want it to start with the capital letter. Okay, let's split this. Let's say it's supposed to we want to have a person's name here. So it needs to start, as you can see, it needs to start with an uppercase letter, and it can be any letter, right? Because people's names are very unique. There's names that start with A, names that start with B. There's a lot of names out there. So it needs to start with an uppercase letter. So how do we represent uppercase? So remember what I said. If you write values like this, if you say O T X, what that means it's any of these. It cannot be all of them, but it has to be at least one of them. You see, there's my regular expression. It's matching the T because there's the string consists of at least a T. And I didn't specify what it should begin with and what it should end with. So what this means, it just means, does the string have any of these letters, X or T or an O? So that's what it means. So if you want to specify a range, you can say A to Z, something like this. That's how you specify a range. And when you specify a range, be careful of the capitalization. Look at how you've written it. You've written small letters here. So it's gonna match with small letters of the alphabet from A to Z, the lowercase letters, only the lowercase. If you check the matches that have been found here at the bottom, it's only matching with A and T and U and T, which is the lowercase letters. If I want to include uppercase letters, I would have to rephrase this to uppercase letters A to uppercase letter Z. So it means it ranges from A to Z, and they're both inclusive. They're both included. A is included and Z is included. So I wanted to begin with a capital letter A to Z. Remember, our name is supposed to start with a capital letter A to Z. So what this means, right? This square brackets. Remember what square brackets mean? It only means one value. So here, what it means I'm expecting one character that's an uppercase or one letter that's an uppercase. As you can see, the examples that I have at the bottom, they match my regular expression. So if I want to, before we get to quantifiers, but let's go in a bit deeper. So let's say I don't want it to include letters from A to Z. You could do something like this. Is it? No, that's the start of a line. No, it should be inside. So you could do this. You should say it should include. Okay, it's a weird way of writing it, but it kind of makes sense. It's a weird way of writing it, but kind of makes sense. But what this means, it means look for characters from A to Z that are uppercase and give me back a look for letters in my string or my line of text that are that are that that are that are anything, could be a space, could be anything except excluding this range, excluding uppercase letters. That's what it means. This means excluding uppercase letters. So this magnifier thing, I guess I have to stick with it because now I feel like it's a bit, you can't really see what I'm writing. So let me just use the magnifier. So as you can see, it's A to Z, right? So it's exactly one character within that range, but it's an uppercase. If I want lowercase, if I want lowercase, I'd have to do this. I'd have to say A to Z. That would be lowercase. As you can see, it starts highlighting my lowercase. If I want to say everything else other except for lowercase letters from A to Z, I can put that symbol there. It means everything else except the lowercase letters A to Z, except excluding them. This you can view it as like a negation. Yeah, it's like a negation. You can imagine this is like a positive number. Let's say this is a positive number, right? So if you put a negative sign in front of a positive number, what you're going to get? You're going to get a negation of that positive number, which means you're going to get a negative value or the opposite of that thing that you're trying to get. So if it's A to Z, that means I'm expecting a character from A to Z. If I put that cap sign, that sign there, I forgot what it's called, but if I put the symbol here, it means negate. Give me everything except everything that's the opposite of this. So what's the opposite of that? That means uppercase letters and other characters. It could be a hyphen, it could be a division sign, everything else except these characters within this range. That's what it means. So if it's placed that's what it means if it's within the square brackets. If it's placed outside, it means that's where my statement begins, right? It needs to begin, it begins, it means that this is the beginning. At the beginning, there should be this, and there should be a lowercase letter followed by something else. So when it's outside the square bracket, it means this is the beginning. And then when you put a dollar sign, it means that's the end of the line that I'm trying to match. That's what it means. So this means start here, that's the beginning, and then this means that's the end. So you can imagine a loop, or it could be a for loop, a while loop, whatever. So this you can view this as like the initialization part. Let's say it's a for loop. So this is like saying int is equals to 0. That's where it starts. And then this is that condition where I say I is less than the length of I is less than some length. So that means it's gonna stop before that length, right? So it's the same thing here. It means this is the end. So this is where it stops. So everything that's in between these two lines should match that line. So let's say, and regular expressions, you need to be very careful. If you say this, if you do this, right? They say you say there should be a space here. That means it needs to match exactly the way you've written it. That's why it's not highlighting at the bottom, because I'm saying there's the line. This is where the line is going to begin. There's not going to be anything after where the line begins. There won't be anything, no space, no nothing. So if I come here and I put a space, it won't match with my regular expression. So let's try to do it. Let's say a, right? You see, it matches because there's a space, and I started with a lowercase letter that's within that range. A is within that range. Remember what I said? It's inclusive. A is included, Z is included. So let's say I don't want the space. Let's just remove the space. Let's just say I want a character there. Let's remove the space. You see, so it's gonna match the character. But if anything goes sideways, so remember I said this is the beginning of the line. Remember, after the line, I didn't say there's a space. So let's say the user decided to put a space. You see, now it doesn't match. So now we have a problem. So in order for you to accommodate that, you could say, okay, it might begin with the space. So after the beginning line, at the beginning of the line, there should be a space. And then now it matches like, oh, okay, now I see a match. There's the space there in front of the lowercase letter, and then there's the lowercase letter, and then the regular expression ends there. So it ends here. You see where the cursor is? That's where exactly it ends, because I put this dollar sign there. So these are all the symbols that we're gonna be using. So most of my regular expressions, I'm gonna write them like this. I'm always gonna start. Okay, now I'm being spiritual. So I'm always gonna start with this cap, that symbol there, and end with the dollar sign to say there's a start and then there's an end. And we're gonna play around with the file just to avoid this issue that I was showing you. Just in case you see that the strings are very difficult. It's like a very complex topic. You have to be you must pay attention, you must be attentive to detail. You must pay attention to detail. Because you see, here I said this is the beginning of the line, right? And immediately after the beginning of the line, there's no space. There should be a lowercase let. So let's see what happens if I remove the beginning of the line. You see, it doesn't matter if I have spaces. It's just gonna match. So I feel like we should normalize writing regular expressions like this. Always say this is where it begins, and then this is where it ends. So everything within here is gonna match my regular expression within the two symbols. So this is how we can find letters from A to Z. It returns exactly one letter. So what you can imagine, right? You can imagine that it's saying, okay, I need to have, okay, this, you see this this square brackets and with the range within it. It's like I'm saying this. It can be A or B or C or until Z. So it can be any of those letters within that range. So that's what it means. Any. And remember what or means. One of them. You can't say both. So it's this or this or that or that. It has to be one of them, at least one of them. But at most it's one of them. It's at least one of them and also at most one of them. So let's go back to our range. So let's say A to Z, right? But remember, we said we wanted an uppercase, right? If we go back to this is the string that we're trying to match, right? We want to receive data in this format, right? We're expecting to receive data in that format. So we need to use a regular expression to see if the format matches with our expectations. So if it matches, then you know we have the right data. If for some weird reason it's like this, immediately it won't match. That's how serious strings are and regular expressions are. It's very complicated. You need to pay attention to detail. So we have that check mark. It needs to start with an uppercase letter A to Z. So at the beginning, you see it even says start of line. When you put that character there, it says that's the start of the line. If you put the dollar sign, it means that's the end of the line. So I suggest you do it like this so that you don't face any confusion, right? So, or you don't face any issues. So we need to match with exactly one uppercase letter, right, from A to Z. So let's write it bit by bit. Let's start with J, right? There's J. Okay. Why isn't it matching? Let me check something here. I don't know why it does this sometimes. This should match, but I don't know. We'll see as we go on. So it should be able to match. Okay. What about now? That's the start, that's the end. It should match. Oh, yeah. You see the problem with strings, nah. Any little inconvenience. You see, I put a space there, that's why it wasn't matching. So I need to put it back like this so that it can match. So what this means, it means give me exactly one character within that range. Remember, this means that's the beginning of the line. This means this is where it should end. So it needs to match, it needs to be exactly in this format. So if you put a space in front of the J or in after, it's not gonna match. Let's put it after. It's not gonna match because I said this is the character, it ends there. I didn't say before the line ends, there should be a space. If it was like that, then it should have been like this. So let's do this. So I have this. So it's any character within that range. It could be Z, could be A. You see it's matching. It's I, J, K. It's anything, but we want J, right? Because we want to match with Jack. So it's followed by smaller lowercase letters, right? So let's see how we can do this. And we can see that it's going to be, there's one thing that I want you to pay attention. Remember, this is a person's name, right? And the name can be of any length. That's the thing about a person's name, it can be of any length. So I can't do this. I can't say, okay, give me another character within that range, any character. Okay, so let's just say, let's write Jack like this. We want it to match with Jack, right? So there's the uppercase letter here. It's going to return any value within that range. So let's say there's a J, it matched with that J. And then, okay, so let me put it back. I'm on A to Z. So it's going to match with that character J, followed by another character. Remember what this means. It means return one, not multiple, just one, exactly one within that range. So I want 3, so I'd have to repeat this 3 times. Okay, this should be fine now. So yeah, let's say check, and then you'll be like, yes, my program works. I'm killing regular expressions. Well, you're really not, because this is just the only case that will work, not all the cases. So let's say the name that I'm gonna write here. Let's say I get this name, Satoru Gojo. So this is the name that I'm gonna get, right? But remember, we haven't tried to match the hyphen and what we will do that later. So let's see. Now you'd be like, oh no, why isn't it matching? If you look at Satoru, right, it's capital S, which meets this criteria, that's fine. But then I said followed by one lowercase letter, and then another lowercase letter, that's 2, and then another lowercase letter, that's 3. So it's followed by 3 lowercase letters. That's why Jack matched, and this one is not gonna match. So it's only gonna match up until Sato, not the RU. If I do this, it's gonna match only up until Sato, up until O. So how do we avoid this? How do we make sure that we accommodate any length? So remember that the smaller letters can be of any length. It can be something like this. I'm not saying it's a person's name, but I'm just thinking of a very long name. So imagine you're trying to store this name. How can you predict the length? So you can't know exactly the length, right? So the length is unknown. So what we can do, we can use what we call quantifiers. So quantifiers, it's, remember what I said? I said this returns exactly 1. If it's like this, you're saying exactly 1 character. If it's like this, you're saying exactly 1 uppercase letter or 1 uppercase character. Here it's exactly 1 lowercase character or letter. So how do we say, okay, I want an infinite range. So improve, like automatically resize the length depending on whatever name you get, because the length of people's names it differs. Some people have two letters for their name, 2 characters or 2 letters for their name. Some people's name is like this. So it becomes very complicated. How do I improve that? I put a plus there. So as you can see, with the plus, it starts highlighting everything. So what plus does, it means plus is 1 or more. You could also use a question mark. A question, is it a question mark? I don't think it's a question mark. What is it? It's not a question mark. Let me see. It's not a question mark. But yeah, you could use this let me see. Is it which other character can you use? You could also do this, right? At least the one. Yeah, you could. So usually how, if you remember in your math class, you remember the intervals, right? So you could write it like this as an interval. You could write it as an interval like this. So what this means, what this translates to, it's 1 to infinity. You didn't specify an upper bound yet. There's no upper bound. So it's just going to assume it's to infinity. But there needs to be at least 1 character. You could say there's 0 to say that at least there could be 0 to infinity. But I would say 1 to infinity. I would say 1 to infinity. I would say 1 to infinity. It makes much more sense. There needs to be at least 1 character. Because you can't, there's no person whose name is just an initial. At least 1, because some people you can, maybe it's the person is called Ma, something like this, check Ma. So it's like, okay, we're looking at the same name, but I'm just saying it could be, you see that is possible. But it has to be at least 1 character, one smaller, one lowercase character. So as you can see, you could do that, but this can be abbreviated. The 1 to infinity you can abbreviate it with a plus like this. So with that plus, what it does, it says from 1 until infinity. I think a question mark should work. I don't know why it's not working though. Because a question mark, I think it says from 0 to infinity. And then with the plus, it means 1 to infinity. Or maybe I'm not using it the right way, but yeah, you could, if you I forgot the question mark. If you forget you want to start it from 0, exactly 0, you can use the interval like this. But if you want it to be 1 to infinity, or you want it to be, you can also state exactly how many characters. You can say 5, exactly 5. If you check this one, this is the only one that matched. It's 1, 2, 4, 5. It happened to match. And it's the only one that matched because this means exactly 5. Exactly 5. No, not lower, not greater, exactly 5. If I say 4, it means exactly 4. If I say 3, it means exactly 3. And Jack will match because there's exactly 3 lowercase letters. Remember, these curly braces, they only quantify this. It's to quantify. This is what we call a quantifier. It's to quantify and say, multiply this or expand this to be of this range. Quantify it to be of this quantity. That's what we are doing here. You could also say from at least minimum 3 to infinity and above. I did put that. You shouldn't put an extra space. Don't do that. It's not gonna match. So 3 to infinity. So it means it needs to be at least 3 characters up until infinity. Can be any number. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put the plus back. Just say at least 1 to infinity. And then remember what he said about the square brackets. You can specify one item like this and say it should be followed by a lowercase character a, or you can say a o, meaning a or o. You could do that. So what do we want to be? What do we want to be followed to follow after the name? If we check, we need a hyphen. That's the thing that we're looking for. We need a hyphen. So if I go back to my regular expression, I'm gonna put a hyphen there. So how do you put the hyphen? The way I was showing you, you just put square brackets and you specify one thing. You want a hyphen. So if I put the hyphen there, you see, now it starts matching with the hyphen. So remember the square brackets, you can you can use them to specify exactly one character that you want after a specific position, or you can use it to specify one of it needs to be one of these in this one of these that I have. So for example, I want it to be either a hyphen, forward slash, or an equal sign. It could be, it's any of these three, but it has to be one, exactly one. So if I say equals here, you see it's gonna match because equals is within the set. I'm saying this is the set that I wanted to match with any of these characters. But if I remove and I only leave hyphen, it means only the hyphen. So if I put the equals there, you see now it's no longer matching. So I need to put the hyphen there, and then there it goes, it matches. And then now it should be intuitive now. You should be able to figure out the other part now. So remember the other part is it starts with an uppercase character, exactly one uppercase character. So let's do that. Exactly one uppercase character. Remember uppercase, it's uppercase to include n from any range is the uppercase A to Z. And we don't put anything, any quantifier here. There's no quantifier next to the square brackets. There's no plus, there's no question mark, there's none. There's none here. So yeah, there it is. Now the question mark is working. Hey, this thing is weird. Yeah, the question mark is, I think it represents from 0 to infinity. And then the plus is going to, it represents from 1 to infinity. And if you want specific range, you should use this. You should use curly braces and say, let's say from 1 to 5. You want from exactly 1 to 5. Something like that. You could do that. So we are not going to specify any quantifier because we want exactly one uppercase character here. And after the one uppercase character, we need another set of lowercase character that can be of any range, but it needs to be at least one. So that's 1 to infinity. And then we are done with our regular expression, just like that. So if I say Jack Ma here, it's gonna match. If I say Satoru Gojo, it's gonna match. If I say what, and then something like this, it's gonna match. So as you can see, it did match, and it doesn't care about the range because I included what we call a quantifier to say quantify this and put it in a specific range. I don't want to return only one character. I want to return characters of a specific length. If I put the plus, it means the length is from 1 to infinity. So if I can do this, it's infinite, right? I can do that. Infinite. That's what infinity means. If you did your math, if you did math, you should know what infinity means. It means it's infinite. I can put as many lowercase characters I want to. So you see, it will still match. So we have our regular expression that matches this, right? There it is. It's able to match this. So this is how you would approach a regular expression. So let's say I wanted to do it a bit different. There's many ways to kill a cat, right? So not literally, figuratively. So there's many ways to kill a cat. So let's show you, let's see another way to approach this. How could one approach it in a different way? So I could say, remember what I said, if it's if I could combine, right? I could do a conjunction, I could combine. So remember, if you look at this, if you look at from here to there, if you look at that, what's that? It's a combination of letters from A to Z and a hyphen. And it could be from any number, from 1 to infinity. So how would you do that? You could technically you could do you could do it like this. Let's remove the hyphen there. And then let's go inside this and say and two ampersands, and then put that hyphen character there. Come on, hyphen, put that hyphen character there. So you could do something like this, right? And then you'd say from 1 to infinity. Let me see. Yeah, okay. It doesn't want you, for some reason, it doesn't want you to put it inside the nation in square brackets. Yeah, it doesn't want you to do that. But if you check the slides, you should place it in. If it doesn't want to, you can just remove. I think it depends on the operators that you're using. So if I do this, that means I could have another operator there. And remember, it's infinite. So anything, I'm saying it's a combi. What this means, right? It means after the uppercase letter, right? Remember, this is just one uppercase letter because there is no quantifier here. There's nothing to quantify it to say it should be of this maximum length, or it should be of this length. So there's that capital letter J, or that capital letter, and then followed by a combination um of um lowercase letters and a hyphen and a forward slash, but we only want a hyphen and a hyphen. So if the only problem is that if you write it like this, right? If you write it like this regular expression is only applicable if you have something like this. So let's say I am going to school, something like this, right? So you see, if that you can only use that notation if you want to have, like, you literally want to have an infinite combination of these things. So there's lowercase letters combined with the hyphen, and there's one or more of those. So one or more, it means even the hyphen themselves, there's one or more. So there's 1 to infinite hyphens. So I can have as many hyphens as I want. But will that match with our regular expression? No, we don't want, because the regular will that match with the lines that we're trying to read? It's gonna match even the incorrect lines, which is a problem. So we only want it to be in this way. So since we only want it to be in that way, we're just gonna put it on the outside. We're just gonna say like this. Immediately after that, I'm gonna put the hyphen there like this. And then you see, so it won't match incorrect input. So that syntax that I just finished showing you right now, it's meant for cases like this. Let me show you which cases I'm talking about. So let's say you have something like this, right? You wanna extract this sentence. I am going to school. Something like this, right? You see that it starts with an uppercase character, right? So let's denote that. Let's show that in our regular expression. Uppercase, it's uppercase letter A to uppercase letter Z. That means it matches this. And there's an infinite number of white spaces. You see, infinite number of white spaces. So this is where I can use that formula now. I can say and a white space character. So that's going to be 1 to infinity, like this. And then I say plus. And then, yeah, no, my bad. I'm doing the regular expression wrong. That's why it's not matching. Listen, I need to say it's this, right? It's the uppercase letter A to Z, followed by a white space character, right? Which is this. Remember, a white space character, this is what we call a white space character. A white space character, it's either a tab, a carriage return, a line feed, then there's a form feed, all of these things. So it's basically this /t/n /r for carriage return, etc. So if it sees anything within this format, that's considered a white space character. So that's what I'm referring to there. Even this space, even if when you do this, when you press tab like this, you see this space here, it's called a white space character. This is also a white space character. And this space here can be represented with this combination slash, you can represent it like this, because this includes, I'll just use this. This includes all the white space characters. That's your carriage return, your line feed, your tab. There's also your form feed, all of that. So let's try to include, let's try to include the, let's try to include the white space, right? So there's the white space. It's any character, any white space character. In this case, just an empty space, followed by a list or an infinite number of, you see, let me format it correctly, an infinite number of lowercase letters. That's 1 to infinity. There needs to be at least one. So A to Z, and that's going to be 1 to infinity. But you see, it's not going to match. Why isn't it matching? Because in between them, there's also a combination, white space characters in between. So that's why I'm going to say, look for characters from A to Z, and they are combined. That's why I'm using and they're combined with some white space character. So white space like this, and then now my regular expression matches. So if you want to read something like this with white spaces in between, you have to write a regular expression like this. You have to combine. You have to say there's letters from A to Z, of which they are. You see, they're in lowercase, but they also combine with some white space character. It could be an empty space, or it could be a tab, or it could be a carriage return, or a form feed. It could be anything. And then now my regular expression matches. And remember what this means. It means that's the end of the line. So if I try to say hello, okay. Oh yeah, it's still okay, it still matches. Let me use an uppercase. Yeah, you see, now it doesn't match because it starts with an uppercase letter, and I said to stop there. Stop when you have a lowercase character and some white space. Of which in this case you have a white space, but now there's a uppercase character. So to fix this, I just remove this. It should still match. Because remember, this white space, it's infinite. It's also part of the quantifier 1 to infinite. So it's also part of the quantifier. So there we go. We have a way to match this regular expression. So that's a bit about regular expression. That's pretty much you have to know. Um, oh, there's also digits. I forgot to mention digits. So there's also digits. So you can say numbers from 0 to 9. These numbers you can abbreviate them like this. You can use this in /d, right? Yeah, /d. For D for what? Digits. And the digits are within that range. And then yeah, and then if want it to be non-digit, like it's the opposite of a digit, you have to use the uppercase D. It means it's everything else other than a digit, which is this uppercase letter D / uppercase letter D. It translates to this. It's saying not 0 to 9. So give me everything that's not 0 to 9. Basically, that's not a digit. So let's demonstrate that. So I'll stop using the magnifier for now since I was able to demonstrate what I wanted to demonstrate. So let's talk about this process of negating and saying I want something other than this. So let's see. So I want anything other than a digit, and this could be a white space character. As you can see, there's the white space character. I can do this. It can match because what I'm writing is not a digit. But if the moment I write a digit, I say 9, 0, it stops matching because I said don't match everything else other than a digit. I don't want a digit. So everything else is fine, but the moment you include a digit, it shouldn't. Basically, I don't want any digits in my input. So this could be the car is moving slow. But the moment you say the car is moving at a rate of 9 kilometers per 9 kilometers per hour, something like this. If you can write something like this, you see how it matches everything. It's matching everything else other than a digit. You see, there's 9 there. Let me show you how much it's skipping. You see, anything that's a digit is skipping it. That's what this character means when it's within the square brackets. When it's outside, it means, oh, that's just the beginning of the line. And then the line ends there. So I want you to match something like this. If you see a line that begins and starts with that is exactly one digit. In this case, if you look here, we have many numbers, right? So what I would do to accommodate this, remember our quantifiers from 1 to infinity, 0 to infinity, I can just put a plus there. It should be able to match this. Let me separate this. It should be able to match this. But then the problem now is the start and the finish line. It needs to be exactly like this. So then there shouldn't be any characters here. If you look at my line, what does it have? It has lowercase letters. It has characters. You see, be in front and after. So that's why it's not gonna match. But if I do something like this, you see, now it matches because I didn't put restrictions on the left hand side, on the right hand side. I didn't put any restriction. I didn't say this is where it ends. So it's gonna look for it within the text. So it's gonna look for any number within any text. And it could be a number, an integer from any range from 1 to infinite. But if I put the end line, it means it ends there. And it means it starts there. So I'm looking for exactly one digit. So the whole line needs to consist of only one digit. So let me remove what's on the left and let me remove what's on the right. And now my digit matches. But if I also remove the dollar sign at the end like this, I could, okay, so it seems, okay, it doesn't work. So I have to remove from both sides. Okay, I didn't, okay, yeah, now I see. So yeah, just take note of those differences. If you use the symbols like this, if you say this is the start and the end, it means that this whole line, it shouldn't have any spaces here. As you can see, there shouldn't also be any spaces this side or characters even. So they should exactly have one digit. So if I come here and I delete this, right? You see, it's not gonna match because there's still a white space character. And I didn't specify it in my regular expression. This side is still, it's fine. It didn't have, but the problem is this side, this end. If I remove this white space from that end, it should match now. Boom, then it matches. So be very careful with the regular expressions. It might end in tears, but it's really doable. Just make sure you reference the guide. So remember what I said, /d, \d stands for digits within from 0 to 9. So let's do that. So digits from 0 to 9, I can just remove this and say /d. What this means, it's just gonna, it knows what I'm talking about. It's just gonna replace this with the 0 to 9. But I'm making it more readable like this. And remember what I said, if it's an uppercase letter, anything that's an uppercase, it means everything other than that thing. So if it's an uppercase letter D, it means everything other than a digit. You see, now it's not highlighting a digit. But if I say hey, it's going to highlight because hey is not a digit. So it meets this criteria. But if I write in small letters, it means exactly that I want only a digit. And it's of any length, remember? 1 to infinity. So 78 is also fine, 700 to infinity if you did your math. That's what infinity means. It's infinite. And then there's also word characters. So word character basically means this. Anything within this range, A to Z, also an underscore. Yeah, also an underscore. And I'm not sure if it's also includes this, but yeah, it's words within that range. And then yeah, let's see. Let's test it out. Let's say W, right? And say, hey. Oh, it actually includes everything, even digits 0 to 9. It includes everything. So you see, I added a digit, but it doesn't include space. You see, it doesn't include white space characters. But if I say underscore, it does work. Get what I'm saying? It does work because underscore is one of the things that are part of this list or this collection. Yeah, regular expressions should be there should be a class, or there should be like a topic that should be taught in its own special class. I shouldn't teach it to include it in this, but it's fine because I wanted to show you the different ways regular expressions work. So let's attempt the practical. It shouldn't take time now since we now know regular expressions. So let's go back. Let's open Eclipse, right? Let's open Eclipse. I'm not gonna follow the naming convention. That's for you to do. When you're submitting, make sure you zip and put everything in the right folder. Name it the right way, or else you lose mark. They might not even mark it. So yeah, that's one of the disadvantages of being a senior. You better take yourself seriously, or else it's not gonna end well for you. So follow the right naming convention and do the right thing. Okay, I'm still waiting for this thing to open. Okay, so there's our, let me do this. Okay, so yeah, someone was borrowed my laptop. So let me create a new empty project. So I'm going to create a new project, right? There's many ways you can create it. You can just click create a Java program, the Java project. But if you don't see this option, you can just always go to File and then New and then Java project. There's many ways to kill a cat, or you can just go here to project straight and then scroll down to Java and click Java project. But why would you want to do that? I don't know why you want to do that, but there's many ways to create a project. So I'm gonna just click New and then Java project and then give it a name. I'm gonna say practical 003, right? Memo. I'm just gonna call it practical 03 and put the memo there. And then the source source folder, and then just click finish. So there's our pack, right? So let's add the necessary files. So let me go to my downloads. There's my downloads. So let me unzip. So let's extract all, unzip, and then there we go. These are the data files or the files that we need to read. So there we go. I have everything unzipped, right? So what I'm going to do, right? This is the quickest way to add your your data file into your data folder or data directory into your Eclipse project. You just say Control C to copy, or you just right click and click show more options and click copy. You could do that. And then click on your main project there, the top, and then paste. There's the folder, it's been added. And then what's the next thing that we need to do? We need to add the build.bat. So the batch file needs to go inside a docs folder, right? So I'm gonna right click and say new, and then say folder. I want to create a new folder. So I'm gonna call it docs, and then click finish or press enter, however you wanna structure it. And then I'm gonna click on the batch file and then right click and then copy or just Control C and then go back to Eclipse and then make sure the docs folder is highlighted. You see it's selected. If I do this, it's going to save it in the data folder. But if I select here, it's going to save it in the docs folder. And then I'm going to press, where is it, paste. You see, that's why I like to just use the shortcuts because now you end up looking around nonstop for something that you could just cram. So we have all of our files. Now we need to add the jar file. So how do we add the jar file? So the jar file is just, in simple terms, just a file with someone's code in it that we're gonna reference some of the functionalities. We can't change it. We're just gonna reference we're just gonna use the methods within the jar file. So you're just gonna say, let me see. You're gonna click on the project name and right click, make sure it's highlighted, and then right click when you see that it's highlighted, and then go to build path. And then you're adding external archives. So add external archives, and then go to the jar folder, the jar file. And as you can see, by default, it's going to look for anything that's a .jar or .zip. So I click open. And then boom, it has been added to path. Just like that. It's that simple. And then if I click the files, right? There's the code. And the author is there. This is the person, this is the author. Everything is there. Firework, there's the author, the whole code is there. So now what I want to do is okay, so now what I want to do is we have our code, right? We have all the things that we need. The setup is finished. So now let's start creating our application. The lead pyrotechnicians meticulously craft their firework displays by generating text files. So they craft their firework displays by generating a text file, which are then dispatched to the Firework Management Bureau, FMB. However, the intense sound from the fireworks can sometimes induce disruptions. So there's an intense sound that's emitted by the fireworks, which can sometimes induce disruptions, leading to the transmission of corrupted and or inaccurate text instructions. The Firework Management Bureau, or FMB, needs your help to examine and identify any messages that may be invalid or compromised as sent by the lead pyrotechnicians. So you need to make sure that remember, this is where regular expressions come into place. Because remember, if the line doesn't match exactly with the way we're expecting it to match, then it's not gonna match. It's not gonna work. So as sent by the lead pyrotechnicians, you will be given access to the set of files for this task. We did add the files to our project, and it will be your responsibility to utilize regular expressions for the validation of the data within these files. The transmission is structured accordingly. So this is how the file is structured. So, which is very good because now you can start to generate and think of like, how do we approach regular expressions now? How do we come up with the regular expressions for these files, to read these files? So what I suggest you do, right? This is a very important thing, and make sure you read everything. If you read here, it says data is separated with tabs. Tabs is, remember what what you talked about. It's separated with tabs. So it's this, or you can just use this, the white space character, which comprises of anything that is of white space character. What is this? Line feed, carriage return, blah blah blah. So you could do it two ways. You could use the tab straight, or you could just use this. I will use the tab straight. I've I've tried and tested. I think if you use this, yeah, it's gonna, I don't know, but I think last time I tested it wasn't reading the line, but we'll see. We'll try both ways. So we want to use the tab. I'm just going to use the tab at first because I was told what each data is separated with. So let's look at our practical. So the different attributes are defined as, so let's see, different attributes. So I need to, before I can look at the attributes, right? I need to look at which line am I supposed to read. You see the first line, right, is the firework display data, right? Which comprises of FDID, firework display ID, firework display name, and firework display theme. So ID, name, and theme. So there's three lines. So these three lines are what the file is comprised of. So you can also double check. You can go to your data folder inside Eclipse and open in a file. As you can see, let me zoom in. As you can see, there's my data file, and it's in the exact format that they said it would be in. So they didn't lie. So yeah, but I'm gonna look at my PDF so that I can come up with the regular expressions. It's easier. It's easier for you to come up with the regular expressions when you look at the instructions, because instructions will clearly state what is the length, what is the string supposed to begin with, all of those details. So this is probably going to be a very long recording, but it's going to be very useful. I'm sure it's going to probably going to be like 2.5 hours, something like that. That's what I'm estimating, if not more, but hopefully it should be less. So let's see. It should be less than or equal to that estimation. So this is the three things that we want to read, right? So what I suggest you do, right, when it comes to regular expressions, open the text file, one of the text files you want to read. Select the line that you want to generate a regular expression for, and then right click and say copy, and then go to I hate regex. We all, who doesn't hate regular expression, guys? But we need to do regular expressions in order to work with strings, because data doesn't, it usually doesn't, some data doesn't come in the form that we expect it to come in. So that's where regular expressions come into place, and they help us uh, fix or filter out that data that's in the incorrect format. So let's see. This is how it should be. Remember, everything is separated by tabs. Data is separated by tabs. So this space in between FDID and FD name, it's a tab. This space in between FD name and FD theme is also a tab. So let's start with the firework display data. So what I'm gonna do, right? I'm gonna write it like this. So I'm gonna say firework display, and then I'm gonna paste the regular expression there, right? So that I don't lose my regular expressions so that I don't lose my date. So I'm going to keep saving it just in case something unexpected happens. You must always plan in advance. So we have this, that's the first line, right? So if you check before, you see how I'm gonna do it, right? I'm gonna look at the individual fields, right? So I'm gonna look at the ID and read about the FD ID, how it's supposed to be structured. And then I'm gonna look at the following thing. After the FD ID, I'm gonna put a tab and then look at the FD name. Go to FD name, how it's supposed to be structured, and so on. So there's more details, right? This part, right? This part is just showing you examples. The part that explains exactly what the information we need is this part. Firework display IDs must start with FD. So must start with FD. They're literally telling you what to do. So start with FD. So I'm literally gonna put FD. You see, now it's starting to highlight. So let's see. And we need to follow instructions clearly. Like we need to exactly how they want us to follow the instructions. So there's nothing more to handle at the bottom. Yeah, so remember what I said, quantifiers, the question mark indicates that the element is okay. Here they said the element is optional, meaning it might be present, but its absence is also acceptable. So the question mark just means oh, it's optional, but I think it means from, oh, it's optional. Okay. But there should be, I forgot which character you used, but there should be a character to represent 0 to infinity. I, I, I think it is this one. It is the question mark. It should be 0 or more, if I'm not mistaken. But they said it's optional. So we're just gonna treat it as like an optional thing. As a character that to show if something is optional. So IDs must start with FD, followed by 4 additional digits. This is going to be this is very easy. The firework display ID is very easy to construct. They didn't put specific restrictions. They didn't say, oh, the digits they cannot start with 0, they cannot end with this number, and so forth. They didn't do that. They didn't say that. So since it's straightforward, it's just any digits, any 4 digits, right? Remember the quantifiers. So I could write it like this. Guys, don't write the same code. Don't write the same regular expressions. There's many ways to kill a cat. I could write it like this. And remember, I want exactly 4 digits, right? So remember the quantifier. I could put curly braces and specify that I want exactly 4, or I want 4 to infinity, or I want 4 to 7, minimum 4, maximum 7. I could do that. But they said we want exactly 4. So I'm going to write it like this. Curly braces 4. But I already know what the abbreviation of this is. It's just the \d, small letter d, like this, to make sure my regular expression is simpler to, it's more, it's more easier to read. I don't want it to be too long. Imagine having all those statements. It's going to be a very long regular expression. So we are done with the firework display. That part is done with. We are done with that part. So let's see the file. You need to keep referencing the file. Go back to the format of the file. Or you could just come here and see, oh, okay, that's how it is. So now it is highlighted. What's next after this? It's a tab. So I need to put a tab there. So the tab, remember the tab is just going to be /tab like this. Or you could do this. Let me see. Okay, it does. So it does work, but I'm just gonna put a /t there. T for tab, \T for just means tab. There's a tab character there. And then it needs to be followed by the square bracket. So remember what we talked about when you did this example, when it contains white spaces and stuff. So we need to do that. And remember what it said, it needs to match exactly. So we need to say that's the beginning, and then this is where exactly should end. So far it's not gonna match, right? Because I haven't done it, I haven't finished everything. The more I add up until I've reached there, it's gonna match. But before we do that, I'll just put that at the end. I want it to match at least so that I can see, oh, okay, my regular expression is going in the right direction. So I need to include this character. So I could just type this. I could just type that. But the problem with me typing it like that, right, is that if you check here, okay, it doesn't. Yeah, pay attention to this diagram. You see, when I put the slash t, it recognizes, oh, that's a tab, and then digit means 3 times, so it's it's 4 values, 4 numbers. So you see, it's complaining. Now you'd be like, why is it complaining? Unclosed character class. So let's explain what an escape sequence is. Escape sequence. You need to learn something very important. An escape sequence, right? Escaping is basically me. It's like, I'm going to make a very, very bad example. Probably going to regret it, but it's going to be a very useful example. Yeah. So it's like the escape sequence, right? It's like you're escaping your responsibilities. So it's like a father running away from his responsibilities. He's supposed to raise a child and then he runs away. You're escaping from your responsibilities or from your previously known responsibilities. The responsibility that you're supposed to have, you have the responsibility to do something, right? And you just decided not to. I'm escaping that responsibility. So for example, if I say, let's say if I say system dot out dot print line, and I want to print something, right? Let's say I want to print um I want to print I want to print the new line character. I want to display this thing, right? I want to display this thing. How do I display it? If I leave it like this, remember this is already reserved. So I would have to escape its responsibility. Its responsibility is for it. If your cursor is here, it's for it to do this, to start on a new line. That's its responsibility. For me to escape that responsibility and then so that it works like a normal output, I have to put the escape sequence, which is just another backslash. That means escape whatever the previous responsibility was to just it taking a different responsibility or no responsibility at all, because it was previously supposed to output a new line, right? But then now it's not going to output. So because I put an escape sequence, I escaped it. It escaped its previously defined responsibility. It's no longer responsible to output to move the cursor from there to the new line. It's now going to display that. So we can test it out here. So let me open Atom. Let's open Atom. Downloads. Nope. Let me see. Let me remove project folder. Okay, so I think it's Control N. Yeah, there's so let's create a Java file, right? So I'm gonna save it under downloads, and I'm gonna call it main.java, right? And then I'm gonna say public class main, and then I'm gonna create a main method, and then I'm gonna say system.out.println, and then let's see. Let me just print, right? Let me print hello. Here I am. And then at the bottom, it'll start to make sense why I'm doing this. Dot print, and then this will be here I am now. So it'll start to make sense when I start adding the escape sequences, right? So I'm just gonna open CMD, and then I'm gonna say Java compiler, call the Java compiler. No issues there. Java main. So it says here I am, right? Here I am now. So it's something simple, right? Something basic, but you see that there's no space between, right? I could put the space there so that they have a space, but I could also say, okay, after this, right, move the cursor the cursor is this thing. You see this blue thing that keeps on blinking. That's what we call the cursor. So what the cursor, remember I'm calling just the basic print line. The print line just doesn't do anything to the cursor. It stays where you currently are. So that's why it makes this text. It continued where I left off here. So if I want to move the cursor to the next line, I put a next line character, a new line character. And then I just go back here, compile again, because there's changes to the file. And then there we go. Now the format has been formatted well. So what happened is that it got here and it was like, oh, that's where the cursor is. And then it saw I used this character, and then it saw, oh, okay, let me shift to the new line. So it shifted here. So whatever I start printing now, it's going to print on this new line and continue like that. That's why it's like this. But that's its previous responsibility, right? So let's see now. That was its responsibility, right? Let me compile again. You see, there's the new line, right? So let me tell it to escape its previous responsibility and just output whatever it is. So I just put an escape sequence there. It means escape what this is so that I can display it as it is. I don't want it to display to move the cursor to a new line. I just want to display it. I want to output \n. So in order for me to output \n, I need to tell the computer, no, listen, escape, make this escape sequence, make this character escape its previously defined responsibility and just display as it is. So I'm gonna do this, and then there we go. You see, now it's displaying as part of the text. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's like the father who ran away is no longer is not responsible anymore. Maybe let's say maybe he was responsible and then he just disappeared. He escaped his responsibility. It was like, you know what? This is beyond me. I'm escaping my responsibilities. So it's the same thing here. That's what the backslash does. So if I want to, if I wanted to go back to use its to go back to its responsibility, I don't escape it. I leave it as it is. And then remember, you have to recompile and then run again. You see, now it's not displaying that \n because it's back to being to doing its responsibility now, of which moving whatever the cursor where the cursor was, it's always going to end here, right? And then it moved to the new line. That's why we have an empty line here. And here, that's why we didn't have an empty line, because I had previously escaped its responsibility. I told it, listen here, you're gonna be a deadbeat dad. You're not gonna be responsible now. You should leave the house, pretend you're going to get milk and never come back home. Escape your responsibilities. That's what I did there. So that's why here we're having that issue. It thinks, oh, remember this thing is a responsibility of showing something in a range or showing one of the things. That's its responsibility, right? So that's why it's complaining. It's saying, wait, why didn't you close it? Because its responsibility is to show things or characters within a range or character or one of the characters. That's its responsibility, right? So how do I do that? How do I make it escape the responsibility? \. And then boom, I've told it, listen here, leave those previous defined responsibilities, leave them behind. You are no longer responsible for any taking care of that child. Leave. It's a bad example, but it gets the point across. It does get the point across. So now it's highlighting. You see, now it highlights the square bracket. So now let's try to do this. So as you can see, if you look at this code, right, it's a combination of uppercase and lowercase. But let's see, let's really let's look at what's really expected from us on the practical. They say firework display name, the name to communicate the display. ode, jode, whatever. So the firework display, right? So names can be of any length. That's where your quantifiers come in place. Plus, which means 1 to infinity, or the question mark if it's optional. So separated by spaces, right? So it is separated by spaces. It goes back to that regular expression I was talking about. So, and placed within square brackets. Name, New Year's Eve spectacular, right? So as you can see, it is a combination of uppercase and lowercase letters, right? So that means in my regular expression, I need to say, remember, this is just one character. I use the escape sequence to escape its previously defined responsibility. So if I do this again and I say A to Z, A to Z like this, now this is a different thing now. This has been escaped. It has escaped its responsibility. As you can see here, it now shows, oh, you just want that one character because I escaped it. And then now I wrote my range. I said it can be within any small letters or uppercase letters. It can be like that. And if you remember our previous code, right? Our previous regular expression, I used and here to say it also has a combination of this. So it's anything within that range, and it is comprised of a white space, right? But remember, they said it can be of any length. So I have to say 1 to infinity, which is that plus there, and then boom, magic. It it knows what I'm talking about. And I need to have the closing square bracket. And remember, if I just close like this, it's gonna have an error, this and that. Okay, here it's working fine, but just to be safe, remember escape sequences. I need to escape its previously defined responsibility so that it knows I mean this thing itself as it is. I don't mean I want to provide, I'm not saying that I'm gonna provide a range. I'm escaping its previous responsibility, which is this one. As you can see here, we've used it the way it was intended to be used. But the escape sequence says escape the responsibility, run away from the responsibility, just run away from them. And then remember, every space is separated by a tab. And then I'm going to put a tab there, and then it highlights. There's the tab. And I need to put this in quotation mark, and then I'm sort of going to repeat this, right? Because look at this. It has combination of uppercase letters and lowercase letters and spaces, which is basically this. So I'm gonna reuse, but I'm gonna type it from scratch. So the firework display themes, right? So they said the themes can be of any length, separated by spaces, and placed within quotation marks. So it can be of any length, separated by spaces. So let's do that. It needs to be within quotation marks, so I need to put the quotation marks there. Remember, quotation marks, they don't have any responsibility in regular expressions, so I can write it as it is. I can just leave it like that. It's fine. As you can see, it's highlighting, it knows what I'm talking about. There's nothing reserved in regular expression that uses double quotation marks. So I can just write them as they are. And then here, remember, I need to rewrite that formula from A to Z, and it also contains a white space character and could be of any length from 1 to infinity. And the closing quotation mark. Since now we are done, I need to state that this is exactly how it should be. It should end there. I put that percentage sign and it should start there. So it should match exactly like this. If there is a space like that, there's a problem. If there's a space in the beginning like this, there's a problem also. It won't match. So I need to leave it like this. So this is my regular expression. You see, if you build it step by step, you see that it's not really that bad. But if you look at it like this from the get-go, you're like, damn, that's horrible. That's bad. So I'm gonna copy that regular expression. I'm gonna cut it. I know it works because I've used that example. So I've used that example and I'm gonna put it here. So there's the regular expression for my firework display. And then I'm gonna need for my firework. So let's look at the was a pyrotechnician. So let's do the pyrotechnician. Pyrotechnician. So that's the pyrotechnician, right? So let's do the regular expression for the pyrotechnician. Yeah, it's probably gonna be a very long video, but I hope you guys will be able to go through the whole video. You can divide it into sessions like football. You can have first half, half time, and then second half. Because my videos are probably gonna be I'm trying to make them shorter, but yeah, there's a lot to explain, and I can't just start coding with the assumption that you guys know everything that's going on. That's being selfish. So I can do that. So pyrotechnician full names are formatted as follows. So let's see. So we did this problem. If you remember the Jack Ma problem when we started, we already have the regular expression, but we're gonna have to rewrite it from scratch. Because in this scenario is a bit different because remember there's tabs here. There's tabs involved. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say remember everything is separated with tabs. So it is PT full name. So pyrotechnician full name. So what is the pyrotechnician's full name? It needs to be formatted in this way. So the first letter of each name, whether it's the first name or the last name, it needs to be capitalized, as you can see. So where Y capital letter and X is any number of lowercase characters, right? So Y is a capital letter. It's exactly the same problem we solved. So this is what they're talking about. They're saying it's check mark like this. It's exactly the same thing. So let's see. It shouldn't start with PT or anything. No, it shouldn't start with double PT or something like that. So let's do it again. So any uppercase letter, remember this returns exactly one uppercase letter. As you can see, it's already matching exactly one. If I want to match one or more, and you see it is gonna match, but I want exactly one. And then let's see, followed by any number of lowercase letters, lowercase characters, any number, 1 to infinity, right? And then followed by a hyphen, like this. You could remember what I said. If the thing doesn't have a responsibility in regular expression, you can just write it like that. If it has, you escape its responsibility and you write it like that. If you want to write it, if you want to escape just in case maybe you don't know, you can also write it like that. It doesn't matter. You can escape it. Or you can write it like that. There's many ways to solve this problem. There's many ways. Write it however you feel comfortable. And then after that, you're going to have another uppercase character. And then followed by any number of lowercase characters like that. And then I need to specify that this is the end. So that dollar sign, then that power symbol, it means that's the beginning. So it needs to match exactly like this. No spaces in between the names like this, no space at the end, no space at the beginning. I'm very strict. It needs to match exactly with what I have here. So I have the regular expression for my pyrotechnician. Let's get to the other regular expression now because I don't want to waste too much time. You kind of have an idea of what's going on now. I'm hoping you do have an idea. So let's do firework IDs. So, okay, we are not done. Me and rushing things. Yeah, rushing things it's not gonna end well. I forgot the phone number. So I wanted to keep highlighting. So I'm gonna remove this. So remember that everything's separated by a tab. So I need to have a tab there, tab here. So I need to how many characters is the tab? No, let me just go to this file and copy this, what I have here. That's the only way it's gonna match properly because I can't type the tab here. You see, now it takes into account the tab. Let's look at the digits. The phone number is a very tricky thing. So just be careful with the phone number. Let's look at the phone number because they kind of like testing, or they're really testing you. whether you understand or not the regular expression. So let's see. So pyrotechnician phone numbers must start and end with the digit that is not 0. So that means the starting digit is not a 0 and the ending digit is not a 0. Keep that in mind. You shouldn't start and end with a digit that is 0. You shouldn't start and end with 0. And X is a digit where X is a digit and hyphens separate digits into separate the digit groups. So remember, I can't use the end symbol because now it's going to be infinite. I can, yeah, I can't use an end symbol. So this is what I mean when I say I can't use an end symbol. Remember the first digit. So what I will do, right? I won't use, I can use this, it's fine, but this is a problem. You see this abbreviation, \d takes from 0 to 9, 0 to 9, which is a problem. So that's why I have to write it like this and instead say 1 to 9 and exclude the 0. So if you see here, if I go back and I do 0, don't go through. But if I put any number from 1 and above, it is gonna highlight. So there's that, and then followed by 2 digits that can be either combination, it can either be from 0 to 9. So that means I can just use /d. I can't say 1 to infinity. I can't say 1 to infinity. That would be wrong. Let me say exactly 2 digits, right? And then there it is, exactly 2 digits. It means that it's from 00 to 99. Yeah. So it's from 00 to 99. Remember when you say 2 digits, right? Yeah, meaning what you mean with 2 digits like that? You're saying it can be any combination of digits within the range of 0 and 9. So the first digit couldn't be any value between 0 and 9. The second digit also would be any value from 0 to 9. So this would be, for example, the first digit, let's say a random value 0. The second digit is a random value 1. And it can also be 55. And it can also be 67. You get what I'm saying? That's what 2 digits mean. So that's what I mean when I say exactly 2 digits. So it must be a combination of 2 digits within that range, 0 to 9. But the first digit, I had to write it in this way so that I exclude 0 because I said 0 shouldn't be part of that digit. And then I put a hyphen there. Hyphen has no responsibility there's nothing that it does. There's nothing that it does in real expression, but you can always, for the sake of making it look pretty, you can always put it in square brackets. It's not gonna make any difference, but yeah. And then 3 digits, right? These are 3 digits, and they were not strict about that digit. Let's see which the first digit shouldn't start and end with a 0. Okay, so yeah, those other digits are not strict. Then they don't have any restrictions. So digit, and then I need exactly 3 digits, and then it highlights, and then followed by a hyphen. There's a hyphen again, and then followed by, remember that they said the last digit shouldn't be a 0. So if I do this, let me show you what I'm talking about. If I say and followed by exactly 4 digits, it's gonna highlight everything. But look at the number, it ends with a 0. So I failed dismally to do that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say the first 3 digits, they are fine. They can be from range 0 to 9, the first 3 digits, right? But then the last digit, I need to phrase it in this way: 1 to 9. So at the end, I'm going to say 1 to 9. You see, when I put a 0 there, it's not going to take it into account. But if I put a 1 and above, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there we go. If I put 0, it's not going to work because I said the last digit shouldn't be a 0. If I put a 0 at the beginning, it's not going to highlight because I said the range should be 1 to 9. But if I put a 1 there, it matches. There we go. And then that's my regular expression in full. And then I'm gonna put a $sign at the end to say that's where the line ends. And then this power symbol to say that's where the line start. Start the line and then end of the line. So I can just click copy here to copy the regular expression. So we are done with the regular expression. It looks very long. So that there's a reason why I'm doing all of this. I want to keep track so that when I start coding, I just copy and paste my regular expressions. It's just going to be straightforward. You'll see when you start writing the code. I might have to divide these videos. So because I think it's going to be very long, I might have to divide the videos. But let's just continue for now. I want to be at least done with the regular expressions in the first video. So we have, wait, I'm not done. Me and making, let me see. Oh, I am done with the pyrotechnician. Okay. I'm now going to firework. Yeah, I think this is gonna have to have a follow-up video because it's gonna be very long. Maybe even before a 4-hour recording, which is not gonna be nice. I know you guys brains and how it operates. You're gonna see that 3 hours and be like, hell no, there's no way I'm gonna watch that recording. And you feel lazy. Whereas there's a lot of information that's in the recording. It's just that it's too long. I could have split it up into 1 hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes, 30-minute videos, but it's still fine. I'll do that. So let me just finish this regular expression, and then I think I should do a follow-up video to continue with the rest so that it's divided as part 1 and part 2. So firework IDs, right? They must start with FW. So let's go to our file. Let's go to Eclipse. That's why I like opening the file and then copying the line that I want it to match with, that I want to generate the regular expression with. And then they said it starts with FW. So I'm going to put FW there. Say starts with FW, and then it's already highlighting. So let's see, followed by 6 additional digits. And there's no restrictions to digits. They didn't say it shouldn't start with a 0 and it shouldn't end with a 0. There's no restriction. So it's exactly 6 digits. It didn't say up to or something like that. They just said 6 digits. That means it's exactly 6 digits. So I'm just gonna say /d and then curly braces exactly 6. And then put the exact number that I want, 6. And then remember everything is separated with the tab. So tab like this. I think the white space character should work. It does work, but let's just use tab because we know we were told what each piece of information is separated by. It's separated by tabs. So firework names can be of any length using uppercase and lowercase letters in any position and can contain spaces between the words. That is sky blossom. So in any position. So let's do that. We did do something like this. So it's A to Z, A to Z, and it contains a white space character, and there's one or more values. But you see, this is what I don't want. You see this? Let's do this. Let me. mm, Yeah, it becomes tricky now. Okay. Yeah, let's. I wanted to avoid using the tab. You see the whites. Remember, if I say this, right, it also includes tabs. Remember, this is what we wrote down. This includes tabs. The \S includes tabs, carriage returns, a line feed, all of that, right? So I don't want to include that. I just want a space. So what I can do is I can just say space like this. So it means that it also combines space. I could have also done it to the previous algorithm, still fine. So do it like this. So it means it's a combination of any of these things, any of these 3 things. Um, any range of lowercase letters, any range of uppercase letters, any range or any number of white space. So I'm also gonna separate it to the tab because there's a tab there, and then followed by the double, right? Now you're gonna ask yourself, how would we go about doing doubles? It's very straightforward. you see the fuse length, right? The fuse length must be any value greater than 0, as well as any decimal value greater than 0.0. Yeah, it's just 0 point means 0.0. So that means um on the left hand side, I can have any number, right? I can have any number on the left hand side, right? But it can be from 0 to 9, right? It can be it's fine. But the values after the decimal point, they should be 1 to 9. Because if I include 0, that means I'm also taking into account 0.0, of which that's not what they want. They said it should be greater than 0 point. 0 point, they're just saying 0.0. So let's do that. Let me show you how to do it. So the first digit, right? This is how simple it is. Remember, this is a combination. Remember a double, right? It's just a combination of an integer and a dot and an integer. That's how we're going to do it. So here can be any range, right? So I'm just going to use slash d, 0 to 9. But I'm going to put the plus 1 there to 1 to infinity, just in case, let's say the person wrote something like this. You see, it's any range. I'm accommodating that. And followed by a dot, right? And followed by another integer. But remember the integer, it cannot be 0 here. If it's 0, then that means there's a possibility of having 0.0, which means I've failed to answer this question. I've failed to follow instructions because they said it should be greater than 0 point. 0 point just means 0.0. So let me say, instead of using slash d, remember slash d, backslash d includes 0 to, it's inclusive 0 to 9. I want to specify the range. So I'm going to say, instead of saying slash d, I'm going to write the range explicitly, 1 to 9, and can be one or more digit. So it can be something like this, one or more digit, right? And then followed by a tab. Because remember, every piece of information is separated by a tab. And then now this is the last part, which is very, very annoying. That's the part that I don't like. So only of the following legal e-colors will be considered. So if you look at your file, right? If you look at Eclipse, we have the colors, right? Yellow, there should be red, yellow, all of that. These are the colors. So those are the colors. It should be able to consider the colors, but that's one of the colors. How do you say one of something? So how do you say one of the strings? Not one of the characters, but one of the strings. You put round brackets like this, and then you literally write the string. So the first string that could be entered here, it could be red, and you pipe it. The pipe means or. It means or. It means one of. It's this or this or this or this. That's what it means. So I'm gonna pipe it, and then there's orange, let's say orange, and then green or blue or what's the other one? Or yellow. When I type yellow, it should start highlighting. Just pay attention to that part. It should highlight when I include yellow in my list. You see, there it goes. It starts highlighting yellow. I don't know why it always keeps going back to the beginning. So there's yellow, there's magenta, magenta, magenta. I don't know how they pronounce it, but yeah, I think it's magenta. Yeah, magenta. I think it's magenta. And then white. And then that last one, I don't know. I think it's cyan or cyan, whatever, however they pronounce it. So this is what it means. It means one of these things. So it's either it could be that string red or that string orange or that string green or that string blue or that string yellow. So there's the regular expression. And I need to say that's the end. And then I need to say this is where it begins. And then copy. And then there we go. I have my regular expression. So there we go. We have all the regular expressions. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pause and save this recording and then do part 2 right now. And then so that there's 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. So thank you. See you in the next video.